Hello guys, it's Ironhawk and welcome back. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at a mod that has been confirmed by the developers, which is going to put Bannerlord in an open world. Now obviously the open world element isn't the only feature that this mod has to offer. There are going to be countless things that you can do in this mod, and to be fair, I think this is the mod that I am most looking forward to for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. The first question I want to raise about this mod is who is actually developing it. Now the team of people developing this mod aren't just some random people who have said actually we want to make an open world mod. The team is in fact extremely experienced, especially in the predecessor of this mod, which was made for Mount & Blade Warband, which is called Persistent World. Now for those of you that don't know what Persistent World is, it was basically a mod made for Mount & Blade Warband, which was the previous game, which put the game into an open world, and it was probably one of the most successful mods of all time, especially in Warband. I say this going by the fact that it was made I think around 6 years ago, and there are still hundreds of players daily that go onto these servers and play. Whilst I'm on the topic of servers, I would like to say that the team that's developing this mod is actually led by a very experienced Persistent World player who is the owner of one of the arguably best servers Persistent World has ever seen, which is called EU Phoenix. Now the mod is going to be called Kingdoms, and it's going to be taking a huge inspiration from the original Persistent World mod, which I think is a very good thing, because the community that already exists in Persistent World is going to want some of the features that were in the old game in the new game. Although obviously they're going to be improving the original mod as much as they possibly can, making sure the players have the best experience possible. In this first section of the video, we're going to be focusing on what the actual developers want to put into the mod, and then we're going to be focusing on what the community wants to have in the mod. At the moment, the community is posting ideas onto the Phoenix forums, where the rest of the very active community can discuss whether that's going to work or not. And then finally, after assessing these discussions, the people that actually intend to develop this mod will take a look at all the ideas mentioned and then decide whether or not it should be implemented. However, for now, we're going to take a look at what the developers actually intend to put in the mod, and then later on we'll take a look at what the community wants. The first thing that they've mentioned is the classes that your character can actually play as, and they've come up with 2 ways that this class system could actually work. Now the first one is that you have set classes, for example an archer, a crossbowman, a man-at-arms, which is basically cavalry, a sergeant, which is your main infantry class, or a sailor or serf and things like that, with a basic view of you train as the class you want to play as. And then if you want to switch to another class, you can do that. However, obviously different classes have different stats. For example, archers can't buy the very best armor. And then if you want to switch to a different class, you can do that. However, obviously different classes have different abilities. For example, archers are very good with bows, however they can't carry very heavy armor. However, sergeants, which is another class, can actually carry the heaviest armor, however they cannot use ranged weapons. So it's a very definitive class system where you choose whatever class you want to play as, and then you play as that class. Now the second idea for a class system that they have is very similar to the CRPG and Merc system, which are 2 other mods for Mount & Blade Warband, and this is where you have predefined classes to train, like I mentioned earlier. However, you can add to those classes skills and proficiency points, and they are assignable to characters, and you can create custom classes. So these custom classes will allow you to add skill points to particular stats. For example, if I want to make my character really fast, I'll put loads of skill points onto the skill of agility. However, he'll be really weak in other areas, such as strength. That means he can get less powerful armor, and he'll basically be really weak, and probably a one-hit kill. The second thing that this mod wants to add in is factions. Now across the castle you'll have numerous different castles, and then if you go up to one of these castles and you like the look of the people that are controlling it, you can go ahead and join their faction, and that means you spawn in the castle. You can use things in that faction, for example the faction chat. You can communicate with the members inside that faction via the faction chat, and you can do a lot more things than you can if you're just roaming around on your own. The biggest perk of joining a faction, in my opinion, is that it actually allows you to go to war when your faction goes to war. In this mod, you're going to have a lot of options to do with these factions. For example, there is preset diplomacy with other linked factions. For example, say I'm the Kingdom of Swadia, whatever you want to call it, and then there's the enemy faction called the Rhodoks. You can declare yourselves as enemies to the Rhodoks, or if you want to, you can declare yourselves as allies, depending on your preference obviously. There are so many features for this faction mechanic, and I'd be here all day if I started to explain all of them. However, I've picked out some of the best ones, and one of these is the vassal system. What I say next is probably the best way to explain this. First of all, think of the open world map. and then think of 7 really powerful factions within that open world map. Now these 7 factions are going to own their own areas of land. They're going to need other smaller factions to help them control the area. Now obviously these other smaller factions will have their own villages, their own castles, usually provided by the larger faction. Now this is going to come at a cost. Obviously these smaller factions are going to have to pay the larger factions in terms of money, in terms of resources, and also they're going to have to provide soldiers for war. And the ability to actually implement this into this mod is going to be absolutely phenomenal. We know the size of Bannerlord maps can be absolutely massive, with a maximum map size of 225 kilometers squared, which to be quite honest with you is fucking massive. Now I'm sure the developers of the mod will not equate a map that big, however I'm sure they'll add a reasonable map size so numerous vassals can be formed to make up these larger factions. This is going to be very useful for smaller clans that want to get going into the game. All they have to do is send a message to maybe one of the larger clans and say, hang on, I want to be a vassal faction to you guys, will you help me out and protect me if I give you resources and money and soldiers for war? Another feature that I picked out is that there's going to be a basic factional notification system. For example, say you needed more iron in the castle, you could tell all of the serfs and the labourers to go ahead and mine iron, and only on their screens will they see the notification and nobody else in the faction will see it. Also in the Kingdoms mod, you are allowed to go out into the open world and farm. For example, you can breed cows, you can then slaughter them and sell the meat, you can go ahead and mine iron and then go and create armor with it. You can either do this for yourself as a sole trader, or you can do this for your faction. For example, you can go ahead and sell all your iron at a specific faction stockpile, you get the money, and then they get the pure resources so they can go ahead and create armor for their faction, they can go ahead and create weapons for their knights, and you're basically doing them a massive favour. Something else that I picked out from this list is there's going to be outlaws like there was in the previous game. However, in the previous game, they had their own faction, whereas in this, I think they're going to be more free roaming. They roam in packs, or you can roam on your own, potentially unleashing ambushes on baggage trains so you can get their money or their resources, which you can then go ahead and sell for money, or you could possibly bring it back to your camp. Now, I'm not sure if the camp thing is going to be a thing. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be included. However, if you are watching this, developers, make sure you include that, because that would be so cool to have your own outlaw camps spread throughout the map. Outlawing is also going to be used as a punishment system. For example, say I team kill 5 people in my faction, I will be turned into an outlaw and I won't be able to rejoin that faction for a long time. Whilst I'm on the subject of outlaws, I'd like to say that there's going to be NPC possibilities for them. The reason behind having NPC outlaws is probably because there's not enough players to hold up the amount of baggage trains and the amount of goods that are going to be shipping across the map. In this mod, when you die, you lose all the weapons and the armor that you are carrying. And then this allows other players to actually loot it and pick up your armor. There are going to be multiple variables to do with this. For example, there's going to be stages of damage. Now the 3 stages are intended to be not damaged, lightly damaged, and unusable. These stages of damage will affect the armor's stats. Another feature that they intend to include is the duel system. Now this means that 2 players can duel, with the results being automatically recorded and added to rankings on the website. This will add further competition to the mod other than factions warring each other. They're going to have players who want to be the best duelist on the server. The next section is to do with sieges. Now the first thing I would like to say, in the previous game, when you were attacking an enemy faction's castle and you died, you would respawn at your own faction's castle. Now your faction's castle might be a very, very long way from the enemy's faction's castle, and it would take an extremely long time to run back to the enemy castle to rejoin the fight. Now to stop this from happening, the developers have decided to add the feature of siege camps. These will be available to the attacking team, and they're basically buildable spawns. Now also there's going to be buildable siege weapons for the attackers within those siege camps. Please note that these siege camps will be built very close to the castle, and obviously there's going to be some balancing issues with that. However, I'm sure the developers will come up with a very good system. I cannot wait for the sieges that are going to take place in this mod. They're going to be absolutely astronomical. They're going to be so cool. There's going to be hundreds of players taking part. And instead of running all the way from your castle when you die, you're going to be able to spawn right next to the fight and rejoin it as soon as possible. The last section I want to talk about is the NPC possibilities. Now we've seen from many Bannerlord videos that the NPCs are quite intelligent. Now this will allow them to be implemented in this mod for numerous different reasons. The first two ideas is to have NPC guards who attack players with outlaw ratings, for example. And there's also going to be NPC merchants who are buying and selling special items or food. There are also going to be NPC caravans that can travel from the map edge to city or city to city, and they're going to carry resources, and they can also be attacked by outlaws, as well as enemy faction members, because these faction members can cut the supply routes for the city that they're attacking, so they're not going to get any resources. The last NPC possibility is that the player can actually recruit guards. Now obviously there's going to be a cap to the amount of AI guards that he can have, however that would be really cool to see. Now that's the end of the list of the features that they are definitely including, and in all honesty I think it's a very good list of features. Now the community driving this new Bannerlord mod is actually suggesting ideas daily, and if you have an idea for a feature that you would like to see implemented in this mod, make sure to go to the link in the description, click on the link, and then go to their page where you can make all the suggestions you could possibly want. And if your idea is very good, you might even find that the developers will add it into their mod. Now guys, I think that will wrap it up for this video for the Bannerlord open world mod. If you would like to find out more about this mod and also see how much the community are actually driving its development, make sure to click the link in the description, which will take you to the forum page where you can make as many suggestions as you like. You can also read through all the confirmed features that I haven't been able to mention in this video. You'll see some of the footage in this video was actually taken from the original Persistent World mod. Now if you would like to get involved and play this Persistent World mod, make sure to join my clan, whose website is in the link in the description, and you can basically come ahead onto our TeamSpeak. You can play with us in game, taking part in some huge faction wars between hundreds of players. Examples of this are shown in my previous videos, which is called Unsullied Attack Westeros, where I actually brought lots of the members from this community onto the server and we did some huge battles. So make sure you check out that video, the link will be in the description. So guys, I think that will wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, and if you are new, make sure to hit subscribe. We are so close to 6,000 subscribers, and I can't believe how quickly we're getting there. Finally, I hope you have a brilliant day, and I will see you in the next one.